Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today for the Military Licensing Resources webinar. We are so happy that you can join us today to learn a little bit about what the Department of Consumer Affairs has available in terms of licensing resources. My name is Monica Vargas, and I serve as the Deputy Director of Communications here at the California Department of Consumer Affairs, also known as DCA. So you will hear us refer to that acronym a few times throughout today's webinar. And we do have a full agenda with lots of information, insight, time for questions and answers as well. And we are joined by multiple guests and representatives that share in our commitment to supporting our military community. And just a quick note, as you as you join the webinar, just want to make sure that everyone's aware this webinar is being recorded, just so you know. And we will also have a recording of this webinar available on our website to reference it, or just in case there is someone else that you want to share it with who couldn't be here today. And with those quick reminders on that, let's go ahead and get started. And to help us kick off the webinar, I would like to introduce the California Department of Consumer Affairs Director, Kimberly Kirkmeyer. And I extend a great welcome to the director for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Monica, and good evening, everyone. As Monica did state, I am Kimberly Kirkmeyer, and I serve as the Director of the California Department of Consumer Affairs, and you'll hear that term over and over, and as Monica stated, we are also known as DCA. Whether you're active duty military, a spouse, or domestic partner, or just part of the support system for our service members and families, I thank you for joining us today. DCA is a consumer protection agency, and carrying out that mission is of the highest priority for us. We regulate professional licensing of more than 280 license types through 36 different boards and bureaus here within the department. For example, we license doctors, nurses, physical therapists, contractors, architects, barbers, cosmetologists, engineers, and numerous others. While our department covers a lot of professions, it is also very important to note that DCA does not license teachers, EMTs, attorneys, or real estate salespersons. But for one of those, you're in luck this evening, because today we are actually joined by the Department of Real Estate's Assistant Commissioner of Licensing, who's going to share more about licensing for real estate salespersons later on. DCA understands the importance of professional licensing and the ability to practice. And we know this topic is especially important to our military community who have obtained licensure in other states and are currently stationed in California or maybe in the future. We also understand that moving to a new state can be very stressful, and we understand it likely also means the need to find a new job for some. And if that job requires licensure in California, we want to move you through that process as quickly as possible. Our goal today is really to share a broad overview of the licensing resources that DCA and the Department of Real Estate offer to military members and spouses or partners. Our team that works on military licensing knows how important this topic is also. Some of our staff designated as the context for military related questions, and even some you may actually hear from today, are former military or military spouses and understand what it is like to be a part of that military community. Their experiences are built into everything you're going to see here today, and we're always looking for opportunities to improve. DCA is here as a partner, and we share the common goal of supporting our military members and their families. It is our goal to help get the information shared today into the hands that those that can benefit from it and that seek it. And this is where we can have you partner with us by please helping us spread the word and getting this information out. Thank you again for joining us today, and I hope you find today's webinar very informative. And most importantly, I just want to take a moment to thank you all for all that you do every day. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Monica and keep on going in our webinar this evening.
Thank you so much, Director Kirkmeyer, for your warm welcome, your kind words, and for taking time to join us here today. And as the director mentioned, it is our goal to be of service to the military community, and we will share an overview of the licensing resources that DCA offers to military members, spouses, domestic partners in our department and the professions that we regulate. Throughout the years, as part of this effort, the department has implemented various pieces of legislation in the last 10 years. And an example of part of that effort is also the way that we have updated and redesigned our military resources website. We've outlined that website to be user-friendly, to have information that's more easily accessible as well, and keeping it current with contact information, ways to get in touch, new information, and events just like the one here today of the webinar. We also created a brochure and a flyer that outlines the different ways DCA supports the military and outlines the different resources that are available by category. And we also have a dedicated military email inbox. And this is our inbox that is dedicated just to the military community, and it is checked regularly. We are responsive, and we try to get that inbox out to as many people as we can. In addition, we have established a military licensure committee. And what we do through that committee is we bring together licensing staff from all of our boards and bureaus to help identify the best practices for processing applications for military members, spouses, and more. It is essentially our DCA think tank when it comes to military licensing resources and what we're currently doing and best practices and other lines of effort in this realm. And if you are not familiar yet with our military resources website, I am happy to introduce it to you today. It is dca.ca.gov /military. And this is our one-stop shop where we have all of our information for our military community available. We have the brochures that we just mentioned. We'll have archive of this webinar there as well. And we also have a way to request to get in touch with a board or bureau. So it's just an easy contact form. You enter your information, and then with a day or two, you will hear back from someone to help you with one of your questions. And another best practice that I wanted to share with all of you is that we have learned over the years that having a dedicated military liaison at each board and bureau is one of the best ways that we can help support our military community. So what we have done over the years is we have built a list of dedicated contacts who can assist military members and their families with getting through the licensure process. And that is one of the great things that we have built into our department in general, and something that we're continuing to grow and further build out. So when it comes to licensing, one of the best ways that we can demonstrate the licensing resources DCA offers is through a visual overview. I'm a visual learner, and this just helps outline and organize information in a way that is easy to understand. So I hope that these visuals that we'll be providing are helpful to all of you as well. And this diagram actually comes from one of our brochures, which, by the way, is available on our website, and we will have those links at the end of the webinar. And so what you'll see on screen right now is that we have information organized into 3 different categories. So we have the active duty military member category, and we outline the different types of resources that are available to active duty. And then we have military spouse, domestic partner, and then veteran. And so what I'll go ahead and do next is I will go over each category and provide an overview of the corresponding options available for each category. And these will be high-level overviews, and we know everyone's case and situation is different, but wanted to provide the global picture of what we have available. Let's go ahead and start with our active duty military members. And if you are an active duty military member, you may qualify for the expedited license application processing. I do want to note that this is for SkillBridge participants only. And this started July 1 of this year. And what this does is our boards and bureaus will expedite the application process for those members who are currently enrolled in SkillBridge. And this is done through a form where you just mark that you are a member of SkillBridge, and then you will also be asked to provide documentation that you are a participant in SkillBridge, like an official letter from a commanding officer showing that you're participating. The next item that I wanted to go over as well is the Federal Professional License Portability and State Registration. And this is something that you all may be familiar with. This is the federal legislation that went into effect in 2023 that allows military members or spouses who hold professional licenses in a different state to practice in California within the same professional discipline and at a similar scope of practice if they're required to relocate to California to due to military orders. So with this, California adopted a Department of Consumer Affairs specifically, we adopted a state registration process to help implement these provisions of the license portability. And this is available and done through our website, and you will learn a little bit more about that later on in the webinar. The last item on this list for active duty are the renewal waivers. So with this benefit, renewal requirements may be waived include renewal fees, continuing education requirements, and there may also be other requirements, but those are determined board by board. This benefit has been put in place to assist military members who may not be in California currently, but perhaps they don't want to give up their California license. It is also important to know that military members that receive a renewal waiver cannot practice in California off of a military base. So really important to emphasize that right there. But if you are someone who's interested in learning more about a renewal waiver, you're interested in it, or you just want to know what's available, encourage you to get in touch with the Board or Bureau to learn more and to ask those questions. And we will give you the link at the end of the webinar as well on how to get in touch with that board or bureau. The next category of resources that are available from the Department of Consumer Affairs are for military spouses or domestic partners. The first one here is the Federal Professional License Portability and State Registration that we went over in the previous category. But again, just as a refresher, this is the federal legislation that took effect in 2023, where military members or spouses who have that professional licensure in a different state, they to practice in California within the same professional discipline at a similar scope of practice if relocating to California because of military orders. And this again is done through our portal, which we'll have a demo later on today. The next item here for military spouses or domestic partners is the expedited license application processing and renewal waivers. This includes expedited application processing and a waiver of initial application and license fees. To request this benefit, this can be done simply by checking a box on the application. And it's important to note that please attach any of the necessary documentation that is requested, and those may include military orders, proof of licensure, proof of marriage, etc. But with this waiver and expedited application processing, just wanted to share that there may be some documentation that's required. Also, there are some fees that cannot be waived, such as exam or fingerprinting fees, to name a couple. The other item here for military spouses and domestic partners is temporary licensure. And the temporary licensure is if the applicant is currently licensed, holds an active and unrestricted license in another state, same scope of practice as a profession in California for which they would like to practice. And this is similar to other benefits. This can be requested also online application, and there may be some documentation that is required similar to the expedited application processing option. And also want to just make a note that for temporary licensure, the temporary licensure only lasts for 1 year. Okay, and now for our final category of the three, let's go and talk about veterans. For veterans and resources available through the Department of Consumer Affairs, we have expedited license application processing. So this is if an individual served as active duty member of the armed forces of the United States and was honorably discharged, then there is expedited licensure and registration process available. This can be requested simply by checking a box on an application as well, either paper form or online. And such as the other options discussed, this may require documentation such as proof of the discharge. And that covers the different categories and licensing resources available through the Department of Consumer Affairs. I know that was a lot of information, but wanted to just give the broad scope of everything that we have available to all of you. This information is on our website, and we are here and ready to assist. But just with any questions, encourage everyone to get in touch with their board and bureau. And throughout a couple of those categories, you did hear me mention the federal professional license portability and state registration a couple of times, and I alluded to more information coming here in this presentation. And so our department, what we did was we launched an online portal specifically for the federal professional license portability. And this state registration process, it's very simple. It only requires a few pieces of documentation, some information, all of which are in alignment with the federal law, such as military orders and proof of licensure. We know that this portal is of great interest to our military community, so we wanted to take an opportunity to share more about the portal during this webinar and actually provide a demonstration of what the portal looks like to share a sense of the process, some of the steps, and what to expect when or if you are seeking to go through the state registration here with the Department of Consumer Affairs. And to assist with this demonstration is the Department of Consumer Affairs Chief Information Officer, Jason Piccioni. He will join us and he will give you a great presentation, which I'm sure will answer a lot of questions and be very helpful. And with that, welcome, Jason, and I will hand it off to you.
Thank you, Monica. Appreciate the introduction, and I'm happy to be with everybody tonight. We'll go through, as Monica said, a live demo. So sometimes live demos are really great, and sometimes they're really not. So I apologize if this one goes sideways, but we'll get the information out. One of the reasons we like to do a live demo is just to show how easy and quick the process is, easy, quick, and secure the process is to submit your registration under the portability laws that Monica spoke about. So I'll start. I'm going to share my screen first. All right. Hopefully you're seeing our DCA website. If we're not, somebody on the webinar, please let me know. So this is our first stop for all things DCA on our website. This is the front page. But specifically, if we scroll down a bit, we get to this military resources icon, and it's a dedicated area that speaks to many of the topics that Monica spoke about in the different categories. Is a lot of different information, Board and Bureau military contact information for each of the programs, expedited licensure, renewal waivers, all the topics that Monica spoke about. There's a lot of information here on this page. Specifically, the federal professional license portability and state registration that we're going to go over is in this icon here. So I just click this. And though I won't read every word to you, there's a lot of great information here on this page. And we're going to scroll down. If I wanted to ultimately submit a registration, I would scroll down to this area. And there's 3 links I want to point out before we get right into the portal. And one is the user guide. This user guide gives you, I'll just go to it real quick, sorry. This user guide gives step-by-step instructions of what I'm going to go over. So you don't need to take the notes. You don't need to worry about it. If afterwards anybody wanted to submit a registration, they could follow the steps outlined in this document and be able to do that pretty easily. The next is the listing of all accepted registrants for state registration under this license portability. And this is, if we clicked here, we would come up with this list. And this is a list where registrants on the list can point potential employers in California to demonstrate that they have gone through and had their registrations accepted here in California. And the most important one is this middle link, which gets us directly to the portal. So if you were going to submit a registration, you click on that, you come to our portal, which starts off with our first security method, which asks, of course, for cars. So you think that's a car or a truck? I'll say it's a car. And I'll hit verify. All right, got through it. This is a two-step process, and it's cut up into 2 steps for security. I'll explain that in a second. This first introductory page goes over the information needed. Is this where you need to be? Asks you questions with regard to, just to make sure that you're in the right place, because we want you to get the information you need and be in the right place and register for the right topics and right submissions. So this is a lot of introductory information. It gets right into eligibility questions. As our director said earlier, these are all questions that, again, make sure that you're in the right place. As our director said, if you're requesting to practice as a teacher, attorney, real estate agent, or emergency medical technician or paramedic, this is not the right place for you. So I'm going to choose no to that. And all the rest of these are simple questions, yes, no questions. And if you were to answer no to any of them, it would not let you go forward, as you might not be in the right place. I'm going to answer yes. I'm going to answer the appropriate questions so we can move on. This gives you an outline of all the things that you'll be required to provide. There's not many, but it just outlines it so you have that information before you go forward. It asks you to say that you've read it. And here's where we start choosing some specifics. I can choose any of the boards or bureaus in our department. And when I choose the specific board, the next section shows me specific license types within that board. Because we're in a test environment, I'm going to choose a demo and a demo license type. And it just asks for a few pieces of information. I'm going to lie and say I was born in 2006. And that gets us to the end of our first section. And the reason we stop here with this is we want to make sure that this is secure and that the people who say that they're submitting are actual legit submissions. So at this point, once we hit submit, it's going to send you an email, and the email, which is exactly what this screen tells you. It's going to say you submitted the first stage, go to your email and look for next steps. Well, we're going to do that. I'm going to first show you just one email that the system shows, and I'll show it to you. So this is the formatting, this is the branding that all the emails come to, and all of the communication are done via this email. You won't need to log into the registration portal. All access will be done via an email link, and as you can see here, it says, "Thank you for your request to use the Federal Professional License Portability, et cetera, et cetera. Here are the next steps. Here's what you'll be required to submit. And when you're ready, you can access your registration here." And this link in an email is always the way you'll get back to your registration if you had to edit it, if you had, before you submit it, if somebody from a board asked you to provide more information, it would always be via this type of an branded email with a link to get back to your registration. So let's pretend that I clicked on that particular link, but I'm going to go to one that I already have set up. And this gets me back into my same submission and will ask me for stairs. And something that's similar looking to what we started with. As you can see, it was the demo board and demo license type that I showed. It has the same information that I put in for my first name. As you can see, I cannot change the board or the license type as it's set up. If for some reason you were to have chosen the wrong one of those, you would need to start over. But you can, if for some reason you misspelled your name, forgot your name, or something like that, you change all of these things and just not your email address. I'll move on to the next screen. Your address of record. California, the state registration process requires an address here in California. If you know that at this time, we ask you put it in here. There's just a little search that you can start typing, and it could fill in your address there. I'm going to hit next. Your military orders. First ask you if you are the service member or the spouse or domestic partner of a service member. I'm not going to choose it, but I will show you if I did, it would bring up a upload for you to upload required documentation. I'm going to choose that I'm a military service member. It's going to ask you for your military orders begin date and end date, or the military service end date, whichever is the earlier date. I'm going to put in a couple of different dates here. And it's going to ask you for a copy of the military orders for your service. So I'm going to select files. I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to choose next. Now here is where I'm going to give the information regarding my license, my out-of-state license. How many states am I licensed in? I could put between 1 and 54. So hope you don't have 54, but if you do, we accommodate that. I'm going to choose 1. And this licensure information comes up. Which state? What's the license number? What's the expiration date? And it asks you if the license is in good standing. And then it asks you to upload one of 3 different pieces of information: your license verification, a letter of good standing, or documentation from an online licensing system. Now you can upload all 3 if you like, and this allows multiple uploads. So I'm going to do the same thing, choose the file, upload that, and hit next. As we are a government agency like yourselves, we're going to ask for affidavits and have you attest to different things. I won't bore you with these details. You can read them when you register. And I'm going to hit next for one last submission. There's just a review. You could review all of your entries. If you don't want to review, you can just skip to the end and hit submit. Now, it's live demo. This is where it goes out and gets your digital signature. Right now, we're sending a bunch of information to a digital signature platform, and it's going to combine all of your information into our application, and it'll come up here in a second. As you can see, I'm sorry, the screen is a little bit small. I squished up the screen to make it big so you can see it on there. But as you can see, all of the information that we put in is zapped into our form. All of the information you put in, et cetera, the Alaska license number that we put in, and then it asks you for your digital signature, your attestation, and your digital signature. I'm going to click here. I'm going to put in my digital signature and sign the agreement. It's going to tell me that an email copy containing a copy of my signed submission has been sent to you for records. Everything is done on email, and from here, the board will receive your registration, and fairly quickly. We're averaging really good response times to this. We're turning these around across the department in a very reasonable time frame, and the rest of the process includes the review from the board, and generally speaking, once a complete submission is received, an email is received by the registrant saying it's been accepted with a copy of a PDF with a letter stating your acceptance and the conditions of that acceptance. And then about a week after the registration is accepted, you will end up, your name will end up on this portability, professional license portability list, so that you can refer any needed employers or any employment situations to this list to show and demonstrate that you are currently on the registration list. So I think that that's where I'll stop. And
Thank you.
Turn it back over to Monica. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for walking us through the online portal, showing us all of those steps, and then showing us also where to find that list. Okay, as Director Kirkmeyer mentioned, there are a few professions that DCA does not regulate or license, and we know that there is interest in those professions though. And for that reason, we invited a representative from the California Department of Real Estate to share information and resources that they have available through their department to the military community. I would now like to introduce Jeff Oboisky, Assistant Commissioner of Licensing with the California Department of Real Estate. And welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Monica, and certainly thank you, Director Kirschmeyer, for inviting me to participate at this evening's webinar. As Monica mentioned, my name is Jeff Oboisky, and I am the Assistant Commissioner responsible for the Department of Real Estate's Licensing Division. The Licensing Division is charged with issuing real estate salesperson and broker licenses to qualified individuals seeking to engage in the real estate business here in California. Currently, there are over 430,000 real estate licensees in this state. Also, we are a special fund agency, meaning the revenue necessary to operate the DRE is derived from fees charged for real estate licenses, as well as other services that we provide. Additionally, we have 5 district offices located throughout the state, including Fresno, Los Angeles, Oakland, San Diego, and here in Sacramento. Like our counterparts at DCA, the Department of Real Estate also offers several options for veterans and active duty service members, along with their spouses, to work in California's licensed real estate profession. These options include expedited processing of initial license applications and the portability of real estate licenses from other states. Let's take a look at our website at www.dre.ca.gov and walk through some of these options. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my webpage. This is the homepage of the California Department of Real Estate. And you have 2 options. Either you can click in military in the search box, or you can hover on our banner, and we do have a banner offering military assistance. And as you can see, when you click on this webpage designed specifically for our service members and their spouses and veterans, we have 3 drop-down options. We have an option for veterans, active duty service members, and spouses of an active duty service member. So for veterans, similar to our colleagues at DCA, we offer expedited processing of initial licensure for applications for those individuals who are honorably discharged. So that's very important. We want to make sure that when you do submit your application, you do include information confirming the fact that you were honorably discharged from your respective United States Armed Forces. Also, in terms of applying for a license with California Department of Real Estate, you have two options. You can either do it online, submit it online, or you can submit through the mail. I highly recommend that you do it and submit your application through DRE's e-licensing portal. And more than likely, you would be in this third box right here, where you would have to complete your registration for an e-licensing account. And then you apply for the exam, the real estate exam, or the real estate exam license at the same time by clicking this button right here. Now, what I want to do is I want to go back and just make sure that anybody who's accessing these pages and who's interested in applying for a real estate license, please be sure to click on the additional resources, because we list a lot of information that specifies the requirements to be eligible and qualify for a real estate license, excuse me. One thing you need to know is that when you're applying for a real estate license with California, you do have to pass an exam. And we issue two licenses, a salesperson license and a broker license. And we have 5 exam centers throughout the state: Sacramento, Oakland, Fresno, La Palma, and San Diego. If you're going to take the sales exam, that exam consists of 150 questions and you have to get a minimum score of 70%. For the broker exam, it's 200 questions with a minimum score of 75%. As I just mentioned, you can apply for the exam and or the exam and license at the same time. Now, some people choose to apply for the exam first because they want to make sure they pass the exam before they apply for the license. Others prefer to apply both at the same time, because if you apply for the exam and the license at the same time, if you do pass the exam and there aren't any deficiencies associated with your application, you will be issued a license upon passing the exam right at that time, which is always a benefit for everybody. Now, as I mentioned, we do also offer services for service members and also active duty service members and their spouses. For active duty service members, again, we do have the option of expediting your application, which we just talked about. And then we also, as Jason pointed out before, we do have a portability option where we essentially are looking at the license that you have, the real estate license that you have in another state, and we're registering that license in California. And again, we have designed a portal for applicants to apply for portability with a real estate license. And I'll just quickly walk through this. Again, it's very efficient to use. Some general information about the process. We require some personal information from the applicant. We require information associated with your out-of-state license. And then there's some information that we require that you upload to our system, which includes the military orders, the verification of good standing of that other real estate license in any other state. And if you're a spouse, we require proof of legal union, and then potential additional verification of good standing if you have multiple licenses. And then ultimately, before you submit for portability, we require that you certify the following: that your license is in good standing in the other state, you have actively used your other license within the last 2 years of applying or moving to California due to military orders, you do agree to abide by the California laws as it relates to our licensing laws for real estate and comply with our educational CE, continuing education requirements, and that you're attesting to all the information that you've submitted is true and correct, and sign that document. So again, just like DCA, it's very user-friendly, easy to use, and again, we have the option for the spouses as well. We have the option to expedite your real estate license. If you want to do that, again, that would require you to qualify for the exam, meet certain requirements, pass the exam, and then apply for the license, of which we will expedite. And then we also have the portability option for spouses as well. So I'd just like to take a moment and thank all of you for your services and send it back to Monica should we have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you taking the time to join us today and to share the information from the Department of Real Estate. All right. So what we will do now is we will head into the Q&A portion of the webinar. And I believe we have a couple of quick reminders with our team that works the logistics behind the scenes. And they will give a quick couple reminders before we go into the questions. All right, so we do have the option here. Everyone should see on their screen called Slido if you have a question that you want to type in, and then that will be routed over here to our team. So let's go ahead and go into our Q&A. And I do want to preface that some of the questions we receive, they may be case and board specific. So if you have any question that is a little bit more complicated or may require a little bit more of attention, encourage you to get in touch with that board or bureau or get in touch with the Department of Real Estate and have that one-on-one assistance with your specific situation. And with that, I would like to welcome Brian Clifford, who is the DCA Military Liaison. And I would like to welcome back Jason Piccioni, who is the Chief Information Officer here at the Department of Consumer Affairs, and Jeff Oboisky, who we just heard from with the Department of Real Estate, serves as the Assistant Commissioner of Licensing. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into one of the most common questions that we receive, and that is, what is the difference between expedited licensure and portability? And feel free to whoever wants to chime in first and give an answer and add into it. So difference between expedited licensure and portability.
Yeah, that's a great question, Monica. We get that quite a bit. I think the first thing we want to look at is the fact that when you're talking about expedited licensure, we're at the DRE talking about the applicant meeting all the qualifications and requirements to sit for our exam, and then ultimately they do receive a California real estate license. When you're talking about portability, we're not issuing a license here at the California Department of Real Estate. What we're doing is we're recognizing that license in another state or jurisdiction. For example, North Carolina, somebody is transferred here due to military orders. We're ensuring that that California or that North Carolina license is in good standing, that the applicant has met certain requirements, and then we're essentially registering that license here in California. And that person is now agreeing to be subject to our laws, specifically and including the continuing education requirements. So expedited licensure, it's the same process in many instances that a regular applicant would go through. A DRE or a state license is issued here in California. Portability, a state license is not being issued in California. We are essentially registering that out-of-state license here in California.
Perfect. All right. Anything anyone from the DCA team would want to add to that? That sounded about right.
Yeah, that was great, Jeff. You know, we really encourage individuals to apply for full licensure in California. There's a lot of benefits to that. In addition to the expedited licensing for military spouses, Monica, as you mentioned before, we also waive those initial application fees. So that's a great benefit. We want to get military spouses licensed in California as quickly and easily as possible.
Great. Thank you both. Okay, and then we did get a question earlier this morning and here in our inbox, and the question was, I am a veteran and now a reservist who is also a licensed general roofing, pool, and solar contractor in the state of Florida. And they say they're interested if there's any type of reciprocity or assistance to get California licensed or equivalents for the trades they mentioned. And we heard from our contractor state license board team here, and they did provide some information that we are sharing in response to this. And while unfortunately the contractor state license board here in California does not have any reciprocity with the state of Florida or their licenses, California and the contractors board does have the licenses for general contractors, roofing contractors, swimming pool contractors, and solar contractors. And the experience of the individual that contacted us in Florida would likely be very acceptable if they were to apply for a license here in California. But we would like to provide the email address to get in touch with the contractors board where they can provide more detailed information and more resources for the military application assistance program and any other questions. So we'll include that information at the end as well. Okay. All right. So wanted to ask another question that we have here. And let's see, there's a couple here to choose from. Okay. How long should registration through the federal license portability and state registration process, how long should registration through that portal take to get approved? And that's a question for DCA. Yes.
Yeah, I can take that. The law gives us 30 days to approve once we've received a completed application. So that includes all the documentation, all the information. But as Jason mentioned earlier, we're really processing it much faster. If I had to give one tip to individuals that would be applying through the portal, it is to, and really this actually goes for all of us, is to make sure that you're providing all of the information needed, all of the documentation needed. If your information changes, please reach out and let our boards know so that if they have a question, they can get back to you quickly. We're really trying to process these within a week.
Yeah, Brian, if I may add, Monica, first and foremost, Brian, thank you for that information. On our end too, we're very similar in that case. As Brian said, we do have 30 days, but fortunately, I think for everybody, we're doing it, issuing that registration approval much sooner than that, which we're very happy to be able to provide. I also want to echo what was, I think, said earlier by one of our DCA representatives, that, you know, these situations sometimes are unique to certain scenarios. And I can tell you that we pride ourselves, like DCA, in communicating directly with these veterans or those that are serving our country. So if somebody's on the call today, or should you know somebody that is interested in getting a license, either from a DCA board or bureau or the Department of Real Estate, I encourage you, if there's any questions at all, please email us. We do a very good job at communicating with these folks and trying to get them on the right pathway, because we certainly want to see them be able to transition here in California as easy as possible. We don't want to set up any roadblocks. So if there's anything we can do to assist, please let us know.
Great, thank you. Okay, next question. How do I contact DCA boards or bureaus?
So we have information on our website, a list of all of our boards at DCA. But there, as Monica, you mentioned, there's a military web page where you can really easily put in your information, select the board you want to contact, and just hit submit, and someone will be getting back to you very quickly.
All right, yes, and we'll have those links at the end of the chat. Okay, question for the Department of Real Estate. What if I have a question about my application during the application review process? Where is the best place to direct my question?
We have an email specifically set up to address these types of questions. So thank you for that, Monica. And the email is military@dre.ca.gov. And perhaps we can put that in the chat. We do have it on our website, multiple places on our military page. So please do not hesitate to contact that email address if you have any questions about the process.
Perfect. Okay. I have two separate license types. Do I need to put in separate requests for each type through the portal? And then I would add to that, does the portal have that functionality to enter multiple license types?
So you'll have to put in separate requests for each license type.
So separate entries through
Yes,
the
you'll
portal.
have to go, unfortunately, the way it works right now, you have to go through it. You have to go through each license type as a separate transaction, separate application.
Got it. Okay. And can I complete the online registration as soon as I receive my military orders?
Yes, you can, but it's important to know that you're not allowed to practice until those military orders go into effect. So yes, reach out to us as soon as you know you're coming to California. Get us your information so we can get it processed quickly. But again, it's not effective until that date where the military orders are effective.
Got it. Okay. And then I have a question for Jason. What is the best way to make sure that those registering through the portal are getting their emails and they're not going to spam?
That's a great question. Setting our at dca.ca.gov domain, so that extension on the end of the email, as accepted mail within your whether it's Outlook or Gmail or Yahoo mail client, is the best way to avoid it going to spam. However, if you don't do that, and it could definitely go to spam, but check that. And if you don't receive an email as expected, please contact the emails that are on the portal or the boards that are listed in the contact list on our website, and we'll be able to help you out with that. If you didn't get an acceptance registration, we could resend that. If you didn't get an initial email, all of those can be resent.
Thank you. Okay, last two questions. This one is for DRE, Department of Real Estate. What is the best way to apply for a license with DRE?
Yeah, and I mentioned that I fully support and recommend that anybody applying for a license with DRE use our e-licensing portal. Over 95% of our transactions are done via electronically through this e-licensing portal. So I think it's efficient not only for the applicant, but also for staff. And it's much easier to communicate via email electronically back and forth if we need additional information. So e-licensing would be the preferred method.
Thank you for that. Okay, last question, and this will be for either Jason or Brian. What are common mistakes or any tips so that my application is processed quickly?
I'm happy to take that one. So as I said earlier, making sure that we have that documentation, like missing documentation, is probably one of the biggest factors that leads to delays. Whether we don't have the proof of legal union, we don't have the military orders or the proof of out-of-state licensure, all of those things are needed in order for us to process the registration as quickly as possible. So make sure that all of that information is there and current, to help us serve you as best as possible.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Brian, Jason, and Jeff, for taking time to answer these questions and providing resources and ways to get in touch with the different boards, bureaus, or department. And with that, we will conclude our question and answer. But if there are any questions that are remaining, didn't get your question answered, or say you know someone who has a question, definitely encourage you to provide our website and emails that we'll be providing on our chat, and then also on our end slide here. As you see, we have our main websites here where you will find all of the information that you need for the departments and more. And in the chat, you will also find more specific websites, links to e-licensing for the Department of Real Estate, links to our brochures here at DCA, a direct link to the portal information page, and as well as our emails. And with that, we hope that you leave the webinar with everything that you need and know how to best get in touch with us, and know that we were here for all of you. And I appreciate everyone who joined today, and our time together today has come to an end. But on behalf of the California Department of Consumer Affairs, thank you to all who attended, and a special thank you to the Department of Real Estate for joining us as well. And don't hesitate to get in touch with either of us departments if you need anything with military licensing resources. And until next time, thank you so much and take care.